So if you are having trouble because you start dating someone and at first it seems like you're on the same page, but after a while you're just not really vibing anymore, we are going to do a really quick, super easy, even if you don't know anything about astrology technique. Honestly, you could be at any level and still use this to be able to find out from the start, before you even know someone for a long time, where they really want to put most of their attention, what their main focus is in life. And in fact, I see it as sort of 4 different spheres that people put their attention to, and that is themselves, family, relationships, and the outer world, their community. Because if you have a clash with someone because they're really interested in, for instance, community, they're always wanting to be with their friends, or they are wanting to have a big influence on a particular community or the outer world, and you're a person that wants to be home, wants to be cozy, wants to sort of like be making a family with someone and just be making most of your energy around family, then that could be something that could be end up being a deal breaker. So let's very quickly drop into this technique. What you need to do is, first of all, know the time that the person was born that you're interested in looking at. You need to know their birth date, the year they were born, and the place they were born in order to be able to make this work. Once you have that, you can use any tool out there that will give you a free chart. Now, this might sound a bit alien if you've only ever looked at your sun sign, but trust me, there's many free tools out there where you can easily draw up a whole horoscope for you and the person that you're interested in. Once you have them, you're going to want to choose the whole signs. And what I mean by that is there are something called houses when you look at a horoscope. And there's many different types of houses you can choose from. And the number one that's usually picked for you is what's called Placidius, and that is spelled Placius, I believe. So if you see the word Placidius, you want to go to that. Usually it's a drop down, and you're going to want to choose the choice that says whole signs. Now, when you look at that horoscope, you're going to see there are 12 different houses, and they go around counterclockwise. Now, to really understand very quickly what these houses represent, you can think of a compass, and the compass has 4 different directions, right? You've got south, north, east, west. Well, your horoscope is a lot like that. There are 4 main houses that are sort of like these main directions on a compass, and that would be the 1st house, the 7th house, the 4th house, and the 10th house. So all we're doing is we're looking to see where the most planets are in a horoscope, because when we see them bunched up in certain areas of the horoscope, that's where we can tell where that person's putting most of their energy. So what I mean by clumped up is, are there at least 4 planets that are inside one of those 4 spheres? So the 1st house is all about yourself, your ego. The 12th house, which is behind it, is the losses of ego. And that's why the 12th house actually represents the between times, the spiritual world. It's fantasy. Whereas the 1st house is like our solid bodies. And the 2nd house is the gains of the body, the ego. And so it can often represent money. It represents things like gardening. So it's the physical things in our world that we need to support our body. Whereas the 12th house, the losses, are things that we release with our body, the unseen things like our spirit that we cannot see. The con is sometimes they can have anger issues, especially if most everything is in the 1st house, not really the 12th and the 2nd house, but definitely if they have a lot of things in the 1st house. But the pro of someone like this is, if you want someone to be a leader in your relationship, then someone with a lot of things in that 1st house, the 12th and 2nd house, is going to be pretty willing to actually lead the relationship because they feel like they know best. Now, down to the 4th house, that has to do with our home and our family, motherhood, and the losses of the 4th house are considered things like siblings, because it's not just about us and our parents. Sometimes we have to give over that attention to our siblings, and the gains of the 4th house are the 5th house, things like children and friends. So we get the friendship of our family members, but the parents get the gains of children, because 5th house is all about children. Now, someone that has the sphere of family, the positives of being with them is that you really feel like your home is your castle. This person can be very nurturing because they're not just mothering their own family, they're probably mothering anybody that comes into their sphere. And so it can feel very cozy being with a person that has this kind of emphasis. But the difficulty is you could start feeling a little bit claustrophobic, like you want to be able to get out into the wider world, but they want to stay home. Now, opposite the 4th house is the 10th house. And 10th house has to do with the world at large. And so that could be someone who's very interested in business, someone that is out there being very political, caring about what's happening in the wider world. It can also be the guru and our sangha, our church groups. Now, very quickly, the gains of that 10th house are going to be the 11th house. And the 11th house is actually considered the house of gains. So it's where we can make money. It's where we interface with that wider world and can extract the worldly goods, the money, the fame. Whereas the 9th house is the losses. And interestingly, the 9th house has to do with the guru, but it's considered the losses because the spiritual world is not going to be giving us all of those worldly pleasures like the 11th house does. Instead, it brings us inward and makes us think about the deeper questions in life. Also, another downside is this person might be outside a lot, sort of roaming about and seeing their community. And if you're not interested in that community, it could get really tiring really fast. Now, someone that has many planets in the 7th sphere never wants to be without a relationship. They could be the person that's going from relationship to relationship. It can take a lot of maturity for them to get past that. So being with someone with this sphere around partnership means that you're going to feel like we're a team. That's one of the positives. But on the negative, you might just feel like you're filling a sort of role. The gains of the 7th house are secrets. If we have a spouse, then we're going to know their secrets. Whereas the losses of the 7th house, the 6th house, is where we are encountering obstacles, whereas the 8th house is where we're getting the gains of deep spiritual connection with someone because of that 7th house relationship that we've gained with them. So these are the 4 spheres, and it's very easy to be able to look at the chart of the person that you're dating, look at your own chart, and see where you're putting most of your emphasis into. So the key is looking at the planets and seeing where the most planets are clumped up. Are they in the 1st sphere, which is 12, 1, and 2? Are they clumped in there? Are they in the 2nd sphere, which is around family, and that would be 3, 4, and 5? Or are they in the 3rd sphere, which has to do with partnership, which is 6, 7, and 8? Or the 4th sphere, which is all around community, which is 9, 10, and 11. When I say clumped up, I'm saying there's at least 4 planets clumped up in one of these 4 spheres. Once you can see that that's actually happening, then you can use this technique. If that is not happening, because sometimes people have planets that are scattered all around, then in that case, you're not going to be able to use this technique, except you can look to see where their moon is, because even if the moon isn't clumped up, it's considered such a strong planet. So just knowing where the moon is hanging out will give you a very good sense of at least one aspect of life that they are actually interested in.